Jim Carrey was paid $7 million to star in Dumb and Dumber. It's reported that his co-star Jeff Daniels accepted a measly $50,000 payout for his role. That's what I like to call poor negotiation. If you think that's wild, just wait and see. Some of these numbers might feel big to us, but I promise these actors all made pennies on the dollar compared to the success of the films they starred in. There's a lesson here. But for the life of me, I can't figure out what it is. Kids these days don't appreciate the masterful acting career of Jamie Lee Curtis. She's a legacy actor that's been turned into a joke thanks to those old Activia commercials. Look, I laugh at those ads as much as anyone, but yogurt for digestion health does not define Jamie Lee Curtis. Everyone knows she is the original Scream Queen. She debuted in the horror genre as Laurie in Halloween. Yes, even she walked away from the villain without checking to see if he was down for the count. Curtis only made $8,000 for her role. Sure, it was her first role, and she was in a low-budget movie. However, Donald Pleasence made $25,000 for his role. Most of you can't even name this character. Couldn't they have split the difference? The good news is, she made a salary that was determined by the success of the film for the new Halloween reboot. Yeah, she made way more cash than I did on GameStop for that role.
I'll accept my payment.
Jonah Hill is worth about $50 million and tends to pull a massive salary for every role he does in Hollywood. Even when he was Seth in Superbad, he made out with a nice paycheck. He's one actor that doesn't play around with the negotiations and always makes out like the Hamburglar at an understaffed McDonald's.
How much money can you get?
Why are you talking about money, man? What about Fogel?
However, this particular character didn't give Hill the usual big payday. It turns out his desire to work for Scorsese led to a compromise. For The Wolf of Wall Street, Jonah Hill made $60,000. Now, that is a lot of cash. It's more than any American teacher makes in a year. All that money to pretend to do tons of debauchery on camera. The thing is, that film made significant cash, and Donnie was a big part of the success. So it may not seem like a huge pay cut, but compared to the other salaries on board and the movie's success, it's a big-time pay cut for this headlining actor. I don't want to get into everything wrong with Mel Gibson right now, but we all understand what he's done and the fact that he has massive piles of cash to make whatever movie he wants. There was a time when Mel Gibson was every guy's favorite actor to watch in dramatic action movies. Just look at him here in Braveheart. I get why he's so popular. However, before any of that, Mel Gibson was an unproven actor looking for his big break. It came in a small Australian film that became a cult success. Here's the hint. Yeah, all you Gen Zers out there may not remember, but this was Gibson's big breakout. He was still a student and made $10,000 for this secret hit. Look, that's still better than what The Crew made. George Miller only had $350,000 to make the movie. He paid The Crew in beer. Gibson is lucky he even got money out of the first film. This entry is the most confusing one on the entire list. We all know John Candy, and everyone has their favorite character from his brilliant filmography. For many people, myself included, we know Candy as this guy, Gus Polinski, the Polka King. Candy's like a supernova in this film. He radiates this joyful comedic energy that ends up helping bring the film home. Keep in mind, when Home Alone was being made, Candy was already a huge name in the business. This wasn't a little job for a struggling actor by any means, but according to reports, Candy only made around $400 for this role. Holy cow! That's a severe misjudgment. He's a crucial part of what makes Home Alone so unique, yet he got paid squat. Again, the fact he took the deal is so odd. I don't know what Candy was thinking, but he'd later say he regretted not asking for a bit more. I mean, can you blame him? Even doubling that deal would have been a real disservice to the guy. There is such a thing as an unhireable actor in Hollywood. You can end up on that list for several reasons, and for some actors, that's because their antics end up costing the production a considerable bump in insurance. Robert Downey Jr. became one of those actors in the early 2000s, and no one saw him getting out of it. By now, you know the story. Downey Jr. takes the role of Iron Man after turning his life around and ends up becoming one of the biggest redemption stories in Hollywood. That's nice. But to be Iron Man, RDJ needed to take a vast downgrade in pay. He was paid $500,000 with only an 8% pay rate on the back end. Plus, Terrence Howard accepted a $1 million cut in his salary to help pay for the insurance now necessary to make the movie.
I'm being responsible. That's a new direction.
for the company.
The nice part is it worked out for everyone in the end, and Downey proved the risk was worth it in the future. Brad Pitt left the University of Missouri to pursue acting in the mid-80s. He flew to the City of Angels and began to take jobs with little pay and no credit. He was a floater, desperately looking for a job that would showcase the talent he knew he had. I'd argue the breakout role for Pitt was his minor role in Thelma and Louise. Hiring Pitt only cost Ridley Scott $6,000. When you look back on it, it's hard to argue Pitt could negotiate for more. After all, no one on the crew knew his character would become such a popular part of the film. His scenes are many people's favorite in the movie for how much it brings to the storyline. He keeps the film moving. So yes, Pitt ended up becoming the celebrity for an entire generation of moviegoers, but there's no way anyone knew that back then. It ended up working out for everyone in the end, even us, the fans. Mark Hamill was given 1% of the profit the first Star Wars film made. Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford did not get that little extra in their contract. While all of them were only paid $1,000 a week, that $10,000 payout feels especially low for Harrison Ford. Look, all three of these stars made great careers, but Ford was the future star. When you consider how big Star Wars ended up becoming, Ford missed out big time by not asking for a percent of the profit. Trust me, Hamill made a substantial earning by getting just 1% of the profits. Obviously, Ford made up for it with all the headlining movies after this role, but it's incredible to see him take this deal. I like to think this entry reminds us that every star starts somewhere, and talents can carry you a long way. Still, you need to make sure you negotiate if you're going to be in a film like Star Wars, apparently.
Yes, I do. Every time.
Midnight Cowboy is the only X-rated film ever to win an Oscar for Best Picture, and has certainly earned the praise. While Dustin Hoffman was the big name for this movie, Jon Voight was the breakout star that made the film a success. Their chemistry on screen made the movie work, and Voight was worthy of his awards. What many people tend to not consider is the massive difference in salary. Hoffman made a competitive pay, but Voight told reporters years later he took the union minimum for the role. Okay, that sucks. But there's more to this one. It turns out to save money, the accountants ended up billing Voight for the meal he had on set during one of the long shooting days. They charged this future Oscar-winning actor for his meals. That's wild. I know that Voight is more of a character actor nowadays, but we can all agree that he deserved a better deal for this movie. Hindsight is a massive part of this list, but the producers made bank off Voight's contract. You can't conceive any of afternoon talk shows without mentioning Oprah Winfrey. She's a legend in the industry and an icon. No one underestimates her in anything she does. Obviously, Oprah has made a lot of money throughout her career. I don't think anyone can argue with that fact, which makes this entry one of the more shocking on the list. It appears even Oprah is vulnerable to a bad contract. For her Oscar performance in The Color Purple, Oprah made just $35,000. That's almost half what Jonah Hill made to swallow a goldfish. I'm guessing part of her willingness to take the pay was to get this film made. Working with Steven Spielberg is a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and Oprah wasn't going to pass it up. I can't imagine how Oprah feels about that now. I hope there's no regret from her, because if you've never seen this movie, you need to. It's fantastic to see her show off her acting chops in such a powerful movie. I saved Jennifer Lawrence for last because this one is one of the more recent examples of a massive mistake for a superstar actor. Lawrence is an actor that can take any role she wants now and is always in demand. All that makes it hard to remember that she wasn't always paid the right amount for the talent she was bringing to the project. So for her Oscar-winning performance in Winter's Bone, Lawrence made $3,000 a week. Compare that with Harrison Ford. That's only a $2,000 increase nearly 40 years later. Clearly, she was underpaid for that role. So what about when she hit the big times as Katniss Everdeen? Turns out, she was only paid $500,000 for the first movie. The same pay Robert Downey Jr. made for the first Iron Man movie. I think those two examples speak volumes about the barriers Lawrence needed to break to become the success she is now. A huge congrats to her for making the strides she has in recent years. Oh yeah, I remembered the lesson of this video. If you're gonna try and become the next big movie star, hire a great agent. Otherwise, you'll end up making a third of the salary your coworker makes like Daisy Ridley in The Force Awakens. Tell me, is it worth it for all the fan hate?
Sure, it's Christmas time.
Hell, the only one thing I ever been good for is loving.